While we're waiting, anybody have any questions about what we've covered so far?
Oh, I have a question actually. Do you prefer me writing in the chat?
Okay, well, you want to write it in the chat? That'll be better. Then I'll make sure I'll get it. This headphone does not clearly communicate whatever everybody is saying to me. Unfortunately, I can barely hear it. So just send me something in the chat box. Let me see if I can make. All right. We should submit the first computer project to the author aid at AOL.com email address. So a lot of people have already sent it to me, which has been great. Don't forget to, if you haven't already confirmed your attendance, make sure you confirm your attendance.
And is that via email?
Yeah, send it to author aid at AOL.com and just say, I'm here.
Okay.
A lot of people have confirmed it, but some people haven't. And when the 3 weeks passes, I have no choice. Anybody who hasn't confirmed attendance gets dropped by the college. It's just done automatically.
Okay. If anybody's asking about first computer project,
I'm sorry, say that again?
somebody's asking about the first computer project.
Right. What about it? You're asking me if I received it? I would say I've gotten back about 20%. You have until Thursday. Don't be late. It's such an easy project too, but it's important. Regression analysis is a very, very important tool.
And is it posted on Brightspace? Posted the details of the project, how you want it.
No, I don't think I explained anything on Brightspace about that. It's just what I basically showed you last week. That's why you got to watch the video.
Yeah.
If just watch the video and it will explain everything to you.
All right. And it's due on Thursday with via
That's, by
your
the way,
email
the
address.
nice thing about a remote class. You've got the videos. You don't have that in a real class. So if you miss something, you're out of luck. Here you can watch the video 100 times until you fully understand what was covered. These videos are priceless, truthfully.
And it's due Thursday, right, Professor? Via your email address.
I'm sorry?
It's due on
Say that
Thursday.
again?
The project is due on Thursday.
What about the project?
It's due
Again,
on
it's
Thursday.
coming through my headphone. It doesn't come in clear, and I'm sorry for that.
It's
It's
better
due
if
on
You're
you
better
write
Thursday.
in the
off.
chat because
You're better off just using the chat box, so I'll know exactly what you're asking. And I've tried different headphones that they all don't work well. I don't know. I mean, it could be the computer. But I think at least you can hear me clearly. It's my side hearing you. Do Thursday, yes. I mean, do no later than Thursday. If you do it today, it take you 5 minutes today to sit down and do the project and email it. But just think about this though. If we didn't have regression analysis, what would we do with the mixed cost? We'd be stumped. There's no way we'd ever know what's the variable and what's the fixed. So having regression analysis is extremely important in accounting, where we rely so heavily on cost behavior. All right. 12:10, afternoon, everybody. We set up the whiteboard. We'll go over the homework. And then I'll give you the homework assignment that's due for Thursday. Computer over. I can write on it. Anybody have any questions again about what we covered last week? So let's look at exercise 5-1. It's a very inefficient way of determining net income. So I'll show you a shortcut. But for now, the first thing we have to do is an income statement if sales increase 100 units. So I'll have you help me with this. First of all, what's our new total sales? How many units? If our sales are going up, how many units? All right. Now, just as an aside, let me ask you this question because we'll need it later. What is the percentage increase in sales if it went up 100 units? What's your answer? I think that's too small. Let me double check. 100 divided by 10,000. I think it's 1%.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 1%. That's important. Later today, we're going to work with the percentage change in sales. So if sales go up 100, it's gone up 1%. If it goes down 100 in the next income statement, it went down 1%. You'll see where that comes into play a little bit later today. So we have a $35 selling price. We have a $20 variable cost. Both those numbers are constant per unit, as is the contribution margin per unit, but the contribution margin per unit is a residual. What should I put down for the fixed cost if we've increased our sales by 1%? What do you want me to put down for the new fixed cost? Anybody? What's the new fixed cost if our sales increase 1%? Exactly. A fixed cost remains constant in total as the level of activity changes within the relevant range. Very important. All right, so there's the new net income, 16,500. The old net income was 15,000. The new net income is 16,500. It went up by $1,500. Is there a way for us to have calculated that $1,500 increase without having to waste our time doing an entire income statement? Very important that we try to find shortcuts when we do CVP analysis. So could anybody suggest a shortcut to get the $1,500? Good.
We use the X method or Y method?
No, look at the answer that Geraldo just gave us. We are selling 100 extra units.
Oh, okay. So we just okay. So we divide the net income by the CM per unit to
No,
get.
too much work. In other words, take the 100 extra units that we're selling times the $15 per unit contribution margin, and we'll have $1,500 of additional net income. That's the shortcut that you want to use. That's the power of the contribution margin per unit. Every time you sell a unit for 35 that cost you 20, you net 15. So if I'm selling an extra 100 units and I'm netting $15 a unit, I'm making an extra $1,500. Now, I'm going to leave that there. Now I'm going to do a new income statement because the next problem tells us sales are going down by 100 units. By the way, should I leave that $135,000 of fixed cost in the new income statement, or should I change that?
You should wait a minute. 135? No, don't change it. That's the fixed one.
Okay, so we're going to leave the fixed cost alone. But now I got to put down 9,900 units times 35. So I've got to do all this extra work because the problem asks us to prepare an income statement, a very inefficient way of solving the problem. 9,900 times $20, 198. $15 of contribution margin times 9,900, 148, 500. And leaving that fixed cost alone, like you said, we now have net income of 13,500. So our old net income was 15,000. Our new net income is 13,500. We went down 1,500 units. And again, the shortcut, 100 units less. Before it was 100 units more. Now it's 100 units less. At $15, our net income down $1,500. So this would have been the fastest way of computing the new net income. Start with your 15,000 from the old income statement minus the 1,500. We're at 13,500. Now we're told in the next income statement, sales are now 9,000. All right, so let me ask you this. If sales are 9,000, what is the percentage decrease in sales? Again, something we're going to be using a little bit later today. By what percent did our sales go down? You think it's 1%? Well, let's see. It went down how many units? If it was originally 10,000 and it's now 9,000, it went down 1,000 units over the original 10. It looks like we had a 10% decrease. Okay. So our sales went down 10%. That's something, again, we're going to play with later today. So we have sales, variable cost, contribution margin, fixed cost, net income. At $35, at $20, and the most important, the residual of 15. So our total sales, 315,000, 180. Contribution margin is significantly lower than it was before. How much is the fixed cost? If we went down 10%, okay, so I shouldn't touch the fixed cost. I shouldn't change the fixed cost by 10%. So, by the way, by accident, what did we find? And that was purely an accident in the homework problem. What is this level of activity that has a zero net income?
Break even.
Right. By accident, we found break-even units equal to 9,000 and break-even sales equal to 315,000. Purely an accident. Now, if I want to use that shortcut again, how many units did our sales decline? If it was originally 10,000, it's now 9,000. How many units did we go down? So we're down 1,000 units. And what should I multiply the 1,000 units by?
15. The CM of 15.
Okay, because that's,
$15.
once again, how important contribution margin is. Our
Because
net
it
income,
directly affects the net income when it
exactly,
goes through the fixed costs.
right. But when fixed cost stays the same, this is important. I'm glad you mentioned that. When fixed cost stays the same, and it usually does, any change to total contribution margin will automatically change your net income by the same amount. So right now, contribution margin is going down 15,000. You know, if you go back to the original income statement, how much was the company's contribution margin? Did they give us that income statement? Let me look. I'm going back in my notes for a second. Yeah, there's the income statement. How much was the contribution margin when 10,000 units were sold? Go to the problem itself when it was originally given to you in 5-1. Oh, no. No, that's not the number. Look at the actual problem where they said prepare a contribution format income statement, blah blah blah, and they gave you the income statement. So all right, so 150,000 was the original contribution margin. Let me just make a note of that. And what was the original net income? In that income statement given to you at the beginning of the problem, what was our net income? When our contribution, all right, fine. Now I want you to look what happened. According to this shortcut, the contribution margin will go down by 15,000 and the net income will go down by 15,000. Well, there it is. The new contribution margin is $15,000 less. The net income is $15,000 less. So whatever you do to contribution margin will affect net income. That's something good to know. Was there any other homework? Yes, there was. There was a target net income homework. Let's go to that.
Thank you.
You want to copy it? Okay. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. It's just not coming through clearly. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm turning to exercise 5-4, and you're being asked to compute break-even units and break-even sales. I'm sorry, put that in the chat box so I'll know exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
I think somebody's mic is open. That's the problem. All right. So make sure your mic is muted. All right. So I want to compute break-even sales in units. So I want to use the X formula. So based on the data in 5-4, what are you going to write in your numerator? Tell me what to write down in order to compute break-even, or target net income, I should really say. Because break-even is a target net income equal 0. Good. I'll put that down. Thanks, Tiffany. So let me write 42 plus 0. And then just make a note over here. That's okay. 4,200? You're right. All right, so break even means the target net income equal to 0. So a little bit later today, I'm going to give you a target net income that's not 0. All right, and what are we going to divide by? What goes in the denominator?
The price of CM per unit.
Okay, which is 15. And then what? We're going to subtract the variable cost so that
We
we
have to
have a
subtract it.
unit contribution margin of $3. So 4,200 divided by 3, what are we looking at? How many units to break even? All right, now I'll put it over here, 1,400 units. So if I want break-even sales dollars, what could I do to the answer, to the 1,400, in order to get break-even sales? What can I multiply the 1,400 by? The selling price.
1,400 by the
Selling price of 15, and that'll give us break-even sales of $21,000. Now, if you wanted to compute the 21,000 using the Y formulas, the Y formula rather, we know the numerator is exactly the same, but what goes in the denominator in the Y formula? What do we call it? And then we'll get the dollar amount. What's in the denominator? Good. So, how do we compute the contribution margin ratio in this problem? What two numbers should I use to get the contribution margin ratio?
Okay, so this one's gonna be easy. You take the CM per unit and you divide it by the sales per unit,
Oh,
because that's how you get
right,
the
selling.
that's how you get the the contribution margin ratio.
Okay, so out of every dollar of sales, we net 20 cents of contribution margin. Now, as you saw last week, every time I compute the contribution margin ratio, I like to compute the variable cost ratio. So, what should I put down for the variable cost ratio? How much is the variable cost per unit?
12, right?
And how much is the selling price per unit?
15.
And what's 12 over 15? 0.80. So out of every dollar of sales, we have to spend 80 cents on variable cost. So we're going to divide 4,200 by 0.20. You keep the dollar sign. And what's 4,200 divided by 0.20? Somebody verify $4,200 divided by 0.20. What are you going to get? And that's going to be $21,000 of break-even sales. Now, the next question is the most important homework question because it involves problem solving and decision making. If the company's fixed expenses increase by 600, what's going to happen to the break-even point? So what are we going to do?
Repeat that again.
The number 3 says, if the company's fixed expenses increase by 600, what's going to happen to break even? Now, you could go back and do this. What should you write in the numerator? If our fixed costs are going up 600, what do you want to write? And where did 5,400 come from?
It'll be 4,800.
Where did 4,800 come from?
Well, add the fixed cost with the 600 increase, right?
Okay, so 4,200 plus 600. Okay, let me put that in both places. Plus what? If we're doing break even.
Plus 0.
Okay, no problem, Tiffany. All right. Now, do I have to change either the contribution margin per unit of 3 or the contribution margin ratio of 0.20 if the fixed cost changed? Can I still work with $3? Can I still work with 0.20?
I mean, technically, yes, because
yes,
yes,
because
because even though the fixed cost changed, that we're still looking for the break even.
right. What you want to say, and you're right, the only thing that changed was the fixed cost. The selling price, and you can explain this to a manager. You're going to tell the manager the selling price per unit remained the same. The variable cost per unit remained the same. Therefore, the contribution margin of $3 remained the same, and the contribution margin ratio remained the same. Now, if I give you a different problem, what if I tell you the fixed cost is going up to 600 and the selling price is going down by $2?
Then there will be a huge change to
Yeah, then you're
the
going to have to change the
contribution margin.
contribution margin per unit, and you're going to have to change the contribution margin ratio. That's all I want to say. If the selling price changes or the variable cost changes, then the contribution margin will change. So here we get, oops, that's not a dollar sign. How many units are we now going to sell in order to break even? What's 48 divided by 3? Okay, good. So it's 1,600 units to break even. And what about break even sales dollars? What's it now going to be? 4,800 divided by 0.20. Okay, now, the last thing. That's a lot of work to get these two answers. I want to use a shortcut. So if I have $600 of fixed cost and I want to cover them because I'm doing break even. In other words, if I spend an extra 600, I need an extra $600 to cover it, to pay for it, so that I can still break even. So in other words, what can I do with this, just concentrating on the $600 of fixed cost? If the contribution margin per unit is $3, then I have to sell an extra 200 units to pay for the $600. The original break-even point was 1,400. You're now going to have another 200. So that's the best way of doing the problem. Just take the fixed cost, divide it by the unit contribution margin. You've got to sell an extra 200 units. Any questions? I want to continue with target net income. And then you're going to do for homework widget number 6 for Thursday's class.
Wait, so widget number 6 is not a Excel sheet, or or still an Excel sheet?
Look at widget number 6. It'll tell you what to do. It'll give you additional questions to answer.
So, Professor,
It's a continuation of the homework problem that we just did, but the homework problem doesn't have these questions. Garrison should have added these questions to the homework. And because Garrison didn't, I'm adding them to the homework. And you will find these questions on widget 6.
So Professor, widget 6,
So we're doing target net income.
Professor.
Yeah.
So widget number 6, we're doing for homework, right?
And there'll be additional homework I'll give you in a few minutes as well. All right,
Do we
now,
email those to you, or we just answer them?
the income statement we're currently working with, I think it had $10,000. Let me look it up just to make sure what income statement we were working with the other day. 100,000. Do not email me the homework. As you just saw, we go over the homework. So we have $1 million of sales. We had a variable cost of 7, contribution margin of 3. Now, if you're doing the homework and you're having trouble and you want me to help you, definitely email it to me and I'll help you. We had fixed cost of 800. Got the wrong number. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Give me a second. Oops. I was looking at the functionally oriented income statement, the one that's useless, instead of the cost behavior income statement for problem solving and decision making. Our fixed costs were 200 and our net income was 100. So the first thing we did in target net income was break even, where the target net income was equal to 0. I'm now going to give you a new target net income. I want to know how many units we have to sell in order to earn a net income of $130,000. So you're going to take your X formula because I asked you for the number of units. X equals the fixed cost of 200,000. I'm leaving blank, divided by the unit contribution margin of 3. Now, what do you think I should write as the target net income in our X formula? Any suggestions?
The third 130,000.
Okay. So it looks like target net income number 1, where you put in 0, is the same thing as target net income number 2 when you put in 130,000. So we have 330,000 divided by 3. How many units do we have to sell in order to earn a target net income of 130,000? What's your answer?
110,000.
Okay. Now, any questions? All right, I want to check our work that 110,000 units is correct. So here's what we could do. At 100,000 units, your net income is $100,000. How many more units are you now selling in target net income number 2? How many additional units are we selling? Okay. Now, what do you earn when you sell 10,000 units?
$100,000.
No.
What?
If 10,000 units times the contribution margin of $3, you will earn $30,000 of additional net income. So 10,000 extra units will get you $30,000 of income. And what will that make your new net income? If I were to do a brand new income statement at 110,000 units, what would I get as the new net income? If the old net income was 100 and I'm getting an extra 30,000, what's my new net income?
130,000.
130,000. So I know we did it correctly. 110,000 is the correct answer. Any questions? All right, now I need to explain something about the formula. When you're using the X formula or the Y formula, I'll use words. I'm just going to look at the numerators. Each of these has the same fixed cost plus target net income. But it's understood it's a before tax net income. Before tax. So let me explain what I mean by that. Right now, I asked you for 130,000 and I didn't say one word about taxes. But suppose I now give you target net income number 3. And the target net income number 3 says, how many units do we have to sell in order to earn $90,000 after tax? And the income tax rate for our company is 40%. Now, with that in mind, I can't take the formula, either X or Y, and put 90,000 here because you have to use a before tax net income, and the 90,000 says after tax. So all we have to do is make a conversion. It's like if I said we have 3 feet and I want to know how many inches. So you take the 3 feet, you multiply it by 12, and you say 36 inches. So if you're measuring something, whether you say the piece of wood is 36 inches long or the piece of wood is 3 feet long, it's the same thing. So I need to convert the 90,000 after tax to before tax. And here's the formula. Just like take feet and multiply by 12 inches, before tax net income equals after tax net income divided by 1 minus the tax rate. So if I want 90,000 after tax, I have to divide by 1 minus 40%. What do you get? What's $90,000 divided by 0.6? 150? Okay. So we just converted from feet to inches. Right now, if I gave you $90,000 after taxes and you put it in your pocket, it's the same thing if I gave you 150,000 before taxes and you put it in your pocket, but you have to pay the government 40%. You have to pay the government 40% of 150, which is how much money? 60,000? So you're left with 90. So now my question to you, what am I going to do with the 150? What am I going to do with this before tax net income?
You're going to put it, well, since you're looking for the units, you're going to have to put it in the X formula.
So fixed cost of 200,000 plus before tax net income divided by 3. So that's 350,000 divided by 3. How many units to earn 90,000 after tax?
150,000 units.
350.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
What's okay? 116. It's okay. 667. So if you sell exactly 116,667 units, you will earn 150,000 before tax, which is the same number as 90,000 after tax. So target net income number 3 is almost the same thing as target net income number 2, except you have to take the 90, turn it into 150, and solve the problem. Any questions? All right, so now we get to the most interesting one. And this is going to seem tricky to you when you first hear it, but then you'll be okay with it once you see how to do it. Oops. I'm trying to leave the income statement on. That's why I'm trying to erase what was written here. And I'm not doing a very good job of erasing. All right, I want you to look at our current income statement. And what do you see? Well, I see we earned $100,000 of net income when the company's sales were $1 million. What percent did we earn? It's like a financial statement ratio. People like to look at this ratio when they're evaluating companies. It's net income divided by sales. What do you get? What are we earning?
I guess you get
It should be very obvious. You got
you get like
100,000 over
10%.
$1 million. What are we earning?
10%. I said 10% because
That's what it is. Right now, we're earning 10%. In cost volume profit analysis, where we're working with cost behavior, when a company has sales of $1 million, they will have net income of 100, and that's 10%. But along comes the manager and says, and I'm going to do it as, I'm not going to ask for X. I'm going to ask for Y because it's a little bit easier. So the manager says, this is target net income number 4. What must my sales dollars be in order to earn a net income equal to 25% of sales? So that's the manager's question. Now, do not multiply 1,000,000 by 25%, because that ain't going to work. When sales are 1,000,000, your net income is 10%. There is another level of sales that I don't know yet, where the net income will be equal to 25% of sales. That's what we need to find. What is the amount of sales whose net income will be 25% of sales? Sounds hard. It's really very, very easy. And it's easy when you use the Y formula. Now, what does Y equal? What's the name for Y?
FC plus net
No,
income.
I'm not asking you for the formula. I'm asking you, and I'll write it this way. Let Y equal. When we first introduced the Y formula, I wrote down let Y, right, Tiffany, Y equals sales dollars. That's what the variable Y is, sales dollars. So now in the Y formula, Y equals $200,000 of fixed cost, plus the target net income, we'll write that in a minute, divided by the contribution margin ratio, and our contribution margin ratio was 0.30. Okay so far? In solving target net income number 4, I'm using the Y formula, where Y means sales dollars, and Y equals the fixed cost plus the target net income, which I haven't written in yet, divided by the contribution margin ratio of 0.30. So now, how can we represent algebraically a net income that's 25% of sales? And once you see how to do it, you're going to say, boy, that's too easy. So what do you think I'm looking for? How can we write 25% of sales? No. No. Think about it. 25% of sales. It's funny how very few people can guess this answer. But once you see this answer, you're going to say, oh, that's too easy.
It has to. I mean, you did. I mean, you did mention the thing where you said like after tax NI one
Yeah, you
minus
don't have to worry
tax.
about taxes. Taxes are not
I mean, like,
involved
is that
in number 4.
is that? I mean, like, could we use a similar formula to
No.
that? Percentages.
I want an algebraic expression. Hannah says 25%, but Hannah's missing something. All right, so I'll help you. I'll put down the 25%. How's that? So what was Hannah missing when she said 25%? Remember, I want to earn 25% of sales.
100,000?
No. It says so right here. Let Y equal sales dollars. So what should I write?
So all we have to do is multiply 1 million with the
No,
25%.
no. No. 0.25y. If y are the sales, I want to earn 25% of sales. If I want to earn 18% of sales, I'll write down 0.18y. If I want to earn 57% of sales, I will write 0.57y. That's how easy it is. If the problem says you want to earn 25% of sales, that's 25% of sales. Could you ask for anything easier? Think about it right now. Isn't that the easiest thing? Whatever the percent is, just multiply it by y, because y is sales.
Yes, but what is y? Yes, I know y equals to sales dollars, but but then how are we going to solve for that y?
Let's see. That y is the same thing as the y over here. Y is y. If you don't like the way I wrote this y, I want to make sure it looks like the other y. So how am I going to solve this? Watch and see. I'm going to cross multiply. 0.30 times y, I'm just doing algebra, equals 200,000 plus 25.25y. Next, I'm going to subtract 0.25y from both sides of the equation. So 0.30y minus 0.25y will be 0.05y equals 200,000. No, not 0.05. Yeah, 0.05, that's correct. Equals $200,000. Now, divide both sides of the equation by 0.05, and y equals what? What's 200,000? 4 million? Okay. We'll see if you're right in a minute, but I'll put down the $4 million, because I used the y formula. So, if we did the problem correctly, and we'll see in a minute, if sales are $4 million, then the net income should be exactly 25% of sales, if we did it correctly. All right, I just want everybody to look at the math. I want to make sure you understand the math. Can you take this algebraic expression and solve it for the 4 million? Can you do that algebraically? Can everybody do that? Because if I give you the target net income 0.18 y, then you'll solve it the same way, except you'll use 0.18 y. Or if I give you 0.57 y. All right, so if everybody can do the math, that's important. Let's go check our work now. Let's see if we did it correctly. And I don't know if 4 million is the right answer. Maybe there was an error. We'll find out. Let's see. So I'm going to do an income statement. Now, we were just told that $4 million is the answer. All right, now, let's see if you remember how to do this. How do we get the variable cost? What's the trick we would use to compute variable cost at the $4 million level? Do you remember from last Thursday? What statistic did we use? Anybody remember? What do you multiply the $4 million by in order to get the variable cost? Well, what would you multiply the $4 million by? Yes, right, variable cost ratio. Exactly. And what would you multiply the $4 million by in order to get the contribution margin? What would you multiply the formula? The contribution margin ratio. Excellent. All right. So now, what was the variable cost ratio that we computed? I guess we computed it last Thursday for our company. Anybody remember what we got? I think it was 7/10. I think it was 0.7. But double check. I think the variable cost ratio is 0.7. Go back and look at the income statement. You actually can find it on the last whiteboard. In the right side, remember I had the income statement at 1,000,000 units? 100,000 units rather. I think it was 0.7. And this is for the contribution margin ratio is 0.3. So 2,800,000 would be the variable cost if our sales are 4 million. 1,200,000 would be our contribution margin. How much are the fixed costs? If we now have sales of 4 million instead of 1 million, how much is the new fixed cost? Everybody should know this answer. Right, it stays the same at all levels of activity within the relevant range. Therefore, I get net income of $1 million. And I would ask you, is $1 million of net income 25% of $4 million of sales? Did we do the problem correctly? Well, let's
Yeah.
see. 1 million over 4 million, 25%. We did it right. So let me give you one for practice. Oh, let me ask you this before we go to practice. Suppose the manager says, okay, you gave me my answer and you checked it and it's correct. But what about the units? So you could take the $4 million and do what? In order to get the number of units, what would you divide by? What's the selling price? What's our selling price in our company? I think it's $10. Therefore, 400,000 units. So if the manager wants the answer in dollars, it's 4 million. If the manager wants the answer in units, it's 400,000. Now I can show you how to calculate the 400,000 directly. But let me hold off. Let me give you a problem to practice. Let's see if you can do this. So let me see if I have something, or otherwise I'll
And we
just
were
make something
to
up.
check this out on the widget number 6.
What about widget 6? Widget 6 will tell you that they're going to give you target net income at a dollar amount, a target net income after taxes, and a target net income that's a percent of sales. It'll give you practice in everything that we're doing. That's why I gave you that homework. All right, so let me give you a brand new problem. Let's see. I'll just make it up. Sales, variable cost, contribution margin, fixed cost, net income. So let's have I don't know, 1,000 units at $25. So our sales are 25,000. Let's have variable cost of 5, and therefore the residual is 20. So that would make that 5,000. This would be 20. I'm going to make sure this problem will work before I give it to you. 18,000 is the fixed cost, and we have 2,000. All right, so I guess I would ask you right now, what are we earning? What is our current
We're earning
return?
$2,000.
How much? No, my question is, how much are we earning as a percent of sales?
Okay,
We're
so
earning
that would be
$2,000 on $25,000 of sales. So what are we earning?
8%.
Okay, so let's write down, just so we know, net income over sales. We're not doing very good, I guess. We're only earning 8%. That doesn't sound very good. So it's not going to be surprising when the manager asks, what must we sell in order to earn a much higher percent? All right, before we answer that question, let's get the contribution margin ratio and the variable cost ratio, because we're going to need them. How much is the CMR for our company? What's the contribution margin ratio?
Contribution ratio is 0.8 and the VCR is 0.2.
Okay, thank you. I'll put down 0.80. I always like it 2 decimal places. And 5 over 25 for the variable cost, 0.20. So in other words, we could tell the manager, out of every dollar of sales, we earn 80 cents of contribution margin. Out of every dollar of sales, we pay 20 cents for the variable cost. So this company really has a pretty good cost structure. I like this company. Earning contribution margin of $20 a unit is good. If right now, at 1,000 units, we're earning $2,000. What if I told you I'm going to sell another 15 units? How much more net income am I going to earn? If I can sell an extra 15 units, more than I'm currently selling now, how much more net income? Okay. And Tiffany, how did you do that? How'd you get $300? Right. Always use that contribution margin. And we have a very high contribution margin. $20 is very high with a selling price of only 25. So this is a pretty healthy company. I don't know why. Well, maybe you could tell me, why do you think they only earned 8%? If this company has such a wonderful contribution margin per unit.
It's because the fixed cost is extremely
Exactly.
high.
Yeah, those fixed costs are really high. That this company is being hurt.
Where do we get 15 units?
I asked for 15 units. I'm the manager. I said I'm going to sell 15 more units. How much more money will I make? So I gave you the 15. Tiffany gave us the 20 and the $300. I just wanted to remind everybody how nice it is. Every time you sell an extra unit, you get $20. That's a very good contribution margin. All right, now, here comes the target net income question. What? And everybody should be able to solve this 1, 2, 3. What is the sales needed to earn a target? I'll write it as NTI, a target net income equal to 15% of sales. Because really, we're earning a lousy 8%. I'd like to earn a 15% return. So what What must my sales be in order to earn a 15% return? Go ahead and solve the problem using your Y formula, and you should have no difficulty doing it. This is another example of target net income number 4. And again, I want to remind everybody, somehow I have to fix the link. The link that I sent you this morning should be good for Thursday. I don't know if it's going to be good past Thursday. I'll have to see. And if it's no good, I'll have to come up with a new link. Hopefully one that'll last. I don't know what's going on with Zoom. We should not have had a problem today. Let me know if you have an answer. So like 3,600,000? No, I'm sorry. All right, you got to show me the number, but with a dollar sign, because
3,000.
we're using the Y formula, so we're going to get a sales dollar. So, all right, so Ralph thinks it's $27,692. Let's see if Ralph is right. Did anybody else get 27,692?
No, I think I did something very wrong.
Okay. Then redo it and make sure it's very right. It's just a simple formula. See if somebody else can get 27,692. Let's see if somebody confirms. All right, so Tiffany confirms Ralph's answer. So let's see. We've got fixed cost of 18,000. Let me leave it blank next to it. What am I going to put in the numerator, excuse me, the denominator, in order to calculate the Y formula? What's going in the denominator? What should I write down for our company? All right, that's going to be in the numerator. We'll get to that in a second, Tiffany, but I want to know what I should put in the denominator, and then I'll get to your answer. Okay, so we're going to make 2 decimal places. So there's the contribution margin ratio, and then Tiffany showed us that it's 15% of Y. So this is what everybody should have written to start with. Y equals fixed cost of 18,000 plus a target net income that's 15% of sales divided by the contribution margin ratio. All right, so I'm going to cross multiply 0.80Y equals $18,000 plus 0.15Y. Subtract 0.15Y from both sides of the equation. 0.65Y equals 18,000. And now you're going to divide both sides of the equation by 0.65. So what's 18,000 divided by 0.65? Let's see if we get the answer. 18,000 divided by 0.65. 27,692. And some pennies. I don't care about the pennies. So 27,692 is correct. Now, we can check our work in a moment, but I'd like to know, let's check our work. Look at the original income statement. 27,690.
Okay, so I got it.
Okay, good. And it's easy. It's very, very, very easy.
Well, unless you mismatch something and accidentally divide the reverse instead of the supposed to divide.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's interesting. We can learn the concepts and be experts at all the different models and all the different quantitative techniques. But if we somehow put in the wrong number, if you're doing regression analysis and you're putting in the wrong number, regression analysis doesn't know there's a wrong number. It's going to give you the wrong answer. Here, using your formula, if you happen to put in the wrong number or you make a mistake with your calculator, you're going to get the wrong answer. So we can be experts on everything except we can make a mathematical error. It's unfortunate because it ruins everything. So I want to check our work at sales of 27,000. What was that number again? 962? So that's the sales. I need to calculate the variable cost, and then I need to calculate the contribution margin. So what are you going to multiply the sales by in order to get the variable cost at a sales level of 27,962? What do we multiply by to get total variable cost? The variable cost ratio. Good. So what's 20% of 27,962? It looks like I didn't 50. Okay, good. 55.92. And then what would you multiply the 27,962 by in order to get the contribution margin? Good. Our contribution margin ratio. And what do you get when you multiply 27,962 times 0.8? Now we're going to have a slight rounding error, but that's okay. What do we get? 22,370. Okay. 22,370. What should I do with the fixed cost at this new level of activity? All right.
Keep the fixed cost.
And how much is the new net income?
The new net income is around 4,154,
Well, you
which is
gotta be
around
exact.
15%.
No. We don't know yet if it's 15% until we check our work.
Okay,
So right now in this income
so
statement,
4,153.6.
no, I get a different number. 23, looks like, yeah. 23,370, 22,370 rather, minus 18, 4370. Okay, 4370 will be the net income when our sales are 27,962. Now we want to see if that really is 15%. So take 4376, 4370.
What the? You got 72,962. I got 27,69 too. For like the cost for like the sales.
The sales are 27 on 962. That's correct.
No, I got 27,692
Well, there must be a mistake.
on my end.
I- Well, if we're right, then you're wrong. But if you're right, then we're wrong. I don't know. You know what's going to happen now? I'm going to check our work to see if we get 15%. If we get 15%, then I know we did it correctly and you didn't. So, what is 4370 divided by the sales of 27,962? I hope we get 15%.
16%.
Maybe there's a rounding error. Let's see.
There's a
Could be rounding.
because it's 15,6,284. But we rounded to 16.
Yeah. Well, I knew we were going to get a rounding error, but let me double check. Let's go look and I'm going back to the formula. I want to make sure we computed the right amount of sales. So I got 18,000 of fixed costs plus 15%
Okay,
of
so
what?
so I see what. Okay, so yes, you got the 65%, 60.65y. That's correct. And when you divide the 18 with the 65 with the 0.65, okay, so when I did 18,000 divided by 0.65, I got 27,692.
Right. That's what we all have. That's the correct amount of sales.
Yes, but you put in 27,962. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait
I
a
did
minute.
it.
You
So I was
transposed the
wrong.
numbers.
Okay. So new whiteboard. I reversed the numbers. So it turns out that you're right and I'm wrong. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so I'm going to check our work with the correct number. 27,692. 27,692. Hey, you know something? When we just checked our work and we got 16%, that told us that we were wrong. Did everybody realize that? It's good that it worked out that way. When we checked our work, we knew we made a mistake, and now we're going back and hopefully correcting the mistake. So for the variable cost, 27,692 times the 0.20 variable cost ratio, $27,000, 962, 690. I reversed it again. 692 times 80% for the contribution margin ratio. So what's 27,692 times 0.2? I'm putting it in my calculator. I got 5538. Is that correct? 5538. I don't trust my math now, so okay. So now I'm just going to subtract minus 27,692. 22,154. 22,154. Fixed cost is 18. Net income 451. Is that correct? 4154. Is that the correct net income? It is. So now I want to check our work. I'm going to take hopefully the correct net income. And I want to divide that by the correct sales. 27,692. What do you get when you divide?
15007. Well, 0.15007, but you get
Okay.
15.
So we did it correctly. When we got the 16% checking our work, that was a red flag that we did it wrong. Now that we got the 15%, we know we did it right. All right, now I got to show you one more thing, and then we're going to go on to the next sub-lesson. The manager now says to you, what are the, no, the manager says, okay, you got your answer as $27,692. But I want to know what the answer is in units. So what was the selling price per unit in this problem, in this practice problem? What did I give you as the selling price per unit? All right, so I want you to divide 27,692 by the selling price per unit. We'll see how many units. 27,692, 5. Somebody tell me how many units have to be sold in order to earn a net income that's 15% of sales. 1108. It was 15%, right? Okay, I just want to make sure. So you can get the answer in units by using the Y formula, getting your answer, and dividing by the selling price. So our Y formula, I want you to look at this very carefully. Y equals 18,000 of fixed cost plus the target net income, 15% of Y, divided by, what was the number? The contribution margin ratio was 0.80? Yeah, 0.80. All right, so is that exactly what we just did? I just want to make sure that I've got the right formula down. The Y formula got us our answer of 27,692. Is that correct? Okay. Now, I don't want to get the answer and have to divide it by 25. I don't like doing it that way. I want to use the X formula to answer this question. So 18,000 plus the target net income. And this time, in the X formula, what do we have in the denominator? We don't have the contribution margin ratio. What do we have instead? What am I going to put down in this problem? What goes in the X formula in the denominator? The unit contribution margin, and how much is it? $20? Okay. So I want to be able to show the target net income. Now, for sure, you know that I've got to write 15%. Because the problem said the target net income is 15% of sales. Here, in the Y formula, I use Y. I can't write Y in the X formula. So does anybody have any idea how to write? Okay, so I want to have an X, fine. But I can't have X by itself. Because X by itself is what? Units. I need 15% of sales. How could I write 15% of sales? So in other words, what I'm really asking you is Y equals what? All right, one more thing, Tiffany. Fix that answer ever so slightly. Fix that answer. The number's
Wait, so
right.
what are we talking about right now? The units?
Hang on. You'll hear in a second. I want Tiffany to fix her answer. You wrote 25x, but what do I really want you to write? I don't want 25x. What do I want? I want $25x. Isn't it true? Now, I want everybody to think about this. Y represents my sales. But aren't my sales equal to the number of units I sell, X, at $25 per unit? So right now, if I asked you, if I sold 1 unit and I did an income statement at 1 unit, how much are my total sales? If I sell 1 unit, total sales. Right. What if I sold 10 units? What's my total sales? Line 1 of my income statement, $250. Try to put those dollar signs in. Okay. So
That's
does
it. We have
everybody understand
uh,
the relationship between X and Y? Y represents sales. $25 X represents sales. Every time you sell a unit at a selling price of $25, you get sales. So if this formula in the Y formula is 15% of sales, then if I want to use the X formula, I can't put Y in here, but I can put in $25 X. All right. I want everybody to look at that. Y in the Y formula is the same thing as $25 X in the X formula because Y equals $25 X. Okay? Does everybody understand that before we go on? If my selling price was $30, I would have written $30 X, 15%. If my selling price was only $1, I would have written 15% times $1 X. So with this in mind, let me rewrite it, and then we'll solve. I won't rewrite it. I'll just see if I can move this whiteboard up. Nope, it doesn't want to move. All right, let me start another whiteboard, and we're going to solve it. We know what the answer is ahead of time because we've already calculated the number of units. So X equals 18,000 plus 15% of sales, and my sales are $25 per unit over, what did I have? $20. All right, so let's see. I'm going to cross multiply. So I got $20 X equals $18,000 plus what is 15% of $25 X? How much do you get? Take your calculator, multiply 25 times 0.15, $3.75 X. Now, I'm going to subtract 3.75x from both sides of the equation. Hopefully, I won't make a mistake. It looks like 16.25 x equals 18,000. Now divide both sides of the equation by 16.25. So what's 18,000 divided by 16.25? How many units to earn a net income equal to 15% of sales?
Whatever.
Isn't that the answer we got when we used the Y formula and got 27, hopefully I'm going to write it correctly, 962 divided by the selling price of 25. I think that got us 1108. So you can use your X formula. That's really what I'm trying to say. If you want to use your Y formula, you're going to write 15% of Y. If you want to use your X formula, you're going to write 15% of $25 X. All right, we're going on to the next sublesson. And let me give you the homework for the next sublesson. I think we're a little bit behind schedule now, time-wise. Let's see. All right, so homework due Thursday. Besides what? Well, I'll rewrite it. So we said widget number 6 plus.
Professor, the project number 1 is due on by the end of Thursday, right?
You're going to read 201 to 202, 204 to 205. You're going to do exercises 5-3, 5-5, and 5-15. So let me explain what we're doing. We're now going to assess product risk. One way of doing it is a lousy way called the margin of safety. And it's something I mentioned to you already. Where you are in terms of your current sales and where you don't want to be in terms of your break-even sales. So let's see what our margin of safety is. Now, the formula in the book is wrong. They write current sales minus break-even sales. And that's where they leave it, but they're wrong. I'm having trouble with my whiteboard jumping around. I want to divide by current sales because I want a percentage. Now, in the problem we're working on, that we were working on last Thursday, our current sales were 100,000 units. And we computed break even 66,667 units over current sales. And we get a margin of safety of 33.33%. And all I can say is current sales can fall by as little as 33%. And we're going to get in trouble. We're going to hit break even where we earn 0. So the lower the margin of safety, the greater the product risk. That's all you can say. And right now, our margin of safety, not the best measure of product risk, simply tells us 33.33%. I want to show you something much better. And it involves a concept called operating leverage. Now, I may run a little bit longer today. I apologize, but things took a lot longer than they should have. So if you have to leave, just watch the tail end of the video and you'll see what you missed. Operating leverage is a function of cost structure. And cost structure means the relationship between your variable cost and your fixed cost. Now, the best way to understand really to understand leverage is in the following example. I have two companies. Call it, I don't know if I gave enough room. Move this. That won't move all. So I have company A and company B. They sell the same identical product. So in 2025, they both sold 10,000 units at the same identical selling price of $20. So they both had $200,000 of sales. And I'm going to tell you ahead of time that they both earned exactly the same net income. They both earned $80,000 of net income. But they have different cost structures. We call it the first company a capital intensive company. And that means they are going to use mostly machinery with very few workers to make that product. So therefore, they're going to have high fixed cost and low variable cost. Now, company B is going to be the opposite. It's going to be a labor intensive company. So B is going to use mostly workers and very, very few machines. So they're going to have high variable cost and low fixed cost. Okay, so variable cost, contribution margin, fixed cost. All right, so I'm going to give the capital intensive company only $2 per unit of variable cost. So that's 20,000. The unit contribution margin is 18, and that's 18,000. And I'm going to give a high amount of fixed cost. I'm going to give them 100,000. Now for B, I'm going to give B a lot of variable cost. So I'm going to make it $10. You can't see this, but my whiteboard won't stay still. $10, which would give us $100,000 of total variable cost. The unit contribution margin is 10, and that would be 100,000 of contribution margin. And I'm only going to have a small amount, maybe one machine. So my fixed cost is 20. All right, so look at these two companies. They Again, make the same identical product, one on a machine, one on by hand. They sell it for the same $20 and they earn the same income. But their cross structures are different. Their operating leverage is different. So we need a measure of this concept, operating leverage. And the measure is called degree of leverage. And you compute degree of leverage by taking the total contribution margin divided by the total net income. So I want you to do that for A, and I want you to do that for B. So for A, I've got contribution margin of 180. Oops. Oh, my pen doesn't want to write. Let me fix it for a
What
second.
does it say? DOL equals CM over NI?
Degree of leverage is a measure computed by taking a company's contribution margin in total, dividing it by its net income in total. So I've got, based on the income statement for A, I've got 180 divided by 80. And what do you get? What's our degree of leverage? Even though you don't really know how we're going to use it, you can compute it. All right, Miguel, 2.25 is correct. Thank you. Now I'm going to do it for the labor-intensive company. So I have contribution margin divided by net income. So I've got a degree of leverage, let's see, 100,000 divided by 80,000 of net income. How much degree of leverage? Thank you, Miguel. 1.25. All right, so one thing I want you to see. If your cost structure is capital intensive, you will have a higher degree of leverage than a labor intensive company. So we can say the following. If you have high fixed cost and low variable cost, you will get a high degree of leverage. On the other hand, if you have high variable cost and low fixed cost, you'll get a low degree of leverage. But still, you don't know how to work with degree of leverage. I'm just giving you some facts. A has a high degree of leverage because it's capital intensive. B has a low degree of leverage because it's labor intensive. And that's a function of cost structure. Now, degree of leverage comes into play in one special case. So the only time you can take advantage of a company's degree of leverage is when there is a percentage increase or a percentage decrease in sales. Or decrease. Degree of leverage comes into play when sales go up or when sales go down. If a selling price changes, degree of leverage is not involved. If a variable cost changes, degree of leverage is not involved. If the fixed cost changes, degree of leverage is not involved. Degree of leverage only comes into play when your sales change. So here's an example. We just did 2 income statements for A and B in 2025. I am now going to 2026. Next year. Next year, I forecast sales will decrease 2,500 units. So there's been a change in sales. There has been a percentage change in sales. How much is that percentage change in sales? By what percent did my sales go down? Originally, A and B were selling 10,000 units. It's going down by 25. It's going down to 75 units. The percentage decrease was I lost 2,500 units out of my original 10,000 units. I have a 25% decrease in sales. So therefore, degree of leverage will be a player. I have to show you how in a few minutes. But first, let's see what happens to A and B next year. So I'm going to 2026. I'm going to make up two new income statements. I want to show you that I have to do a lot of work to get the answer. A lot of work. I got to, as you can see on this whiteboard, I got to waste my time doing 2 income statements in order to figure out what the net income will be next year. But if I show you in a few minutes degree of leverage, you can get your answer in a matter of seconds. But it's going to take me, I don't know, a good 5 minutes or 10 minutes to do this income statement next year at 7,500 units. I got to do all this work. But if I used degree of leverage, I could have gotten the answer very, very quickly. So let's see. 7,500 units next year at $20 will have $150,000 of sales. I mean, so our company is in trouble, or both these companies are in trouble because their sales went down. So you can bet their net income is going to go way down. So let's see. The capital intensive company, 7,500 at $2 for the variable cost. That's 15,000. So the contribution margin 18 times 7,500 is 135. We know the fixed cost stays the same at all levels of activity. So we've got $100,000 of fixed cost, and our new net income is $35,000. We went way down, right? Last year we earned 80,000. Next year, only 35. Let's look at B. For B, we're going to multiply 7,500 times the variable cost of 10, because B has a labor-intensive cost structure, and the contribution margin is 75,000, and the fixed costs are staying the same at 20. So the new net income, look at that. B dropped from 80 to 55. A, unfortunately, went from 80 to 35. So who's better off when sales are going down? Labor intensive or capital intensive? Okay. Now, out of curiosity, by the way, the opposite is true when sales are going up. When sales are going up, you want to be capital intensive. That's why most companies in the United States have gone from labor intensive to being capital intensive because most companies like to forecast sales going up. And if sales are going up, it's better to be a capital intensive company. Now,
So
I
when
just want to make
A
some
is capital intensive
calculations.
and B is labor intensive, right?
Capital intensive right now, when sales are going down, is bad. You're only going to make 35,000 while labor intensive makes 55. But I'm telling you, even though I'm not showing it to you yet, I'm, I'm telling you that if the opposite was true, if sales are going up next year, then capital intensive will have a much higher net income next year than labor intensive. But all you're seeing in front of you is the sales going down. That's all you see. Now, I want to know by what percent did everything go down? So in other words, I was making 80,000. I'm now making 35. I went down $45,000 of net income. If you take the 45,000 and you divide it by 80, by what percent did my net income go down? Give me an exact answer. 45,000 divided by 80 is how much? By what percent did my net income go down? My sales went down by 25%. I need an exact answer. I don't want to round it off this time. There's a reason. So give me an exact answer. 45,000 divided by 80 is how much? Okay. So my net income went down by 56.25%. When my sales went down 25%, my net income went down by 56.25%. Now, for the labor intensive, the old net income was 80. My new net income is 55. So I only went down 25,000. Take 25,000 over the 80, and by what percentage did my net income decrease? Give me an exact answer. Look how much work I'm doing on this whiteboard to get the answer. Look how much time I'm wasting. So, with a 25% decrease in sales, my labor-intensive company's net income only went down 31.25%. So that's a lot better than the capital intensive. Now I want to show you how I could have gotten this answer in a matter of seconds instead of all the work you see in front of you. You ready? What was the degree of leverage number for our capital intensive company? What was the number we calculated when we did contribution margin divided by net income? Look back in the previous whiteboard, I guess, when we did it. What number? 2.25. Good. Now watch this. 2.25 times, what's the decrease in net income? I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. What is the decrease in sales that we experienced in 2025? By what percent did our sales go down in 2026? What was the 25%? Okay. So now look at this. You ready? What's 25% times the degree of leverage? Again, I'm running a couple of minutes over. I apologize. 56.25%. Look at that. Look at all the work you did to come up with this answer. Look what I did to come up with the answer. Now let's do it for labor intensive. What was the degree of leverage for labor intensive? And if I multiply that by the 25% decrease in sales, what is going to be the decrease in my net income? What's 1.25 times 25%? And there it is. So let's see. Degree of leverage is a multiplier. It's a player. It's a multiplier when there is a percentage change in sales. So watch this, almost done. Suppose I had a brand new problem. Watch how fast I can solve this problem. We're now a new company. Right now, I'm going to give you numbers. I don't know if we're capital intensive or labor intensive. I don't care. All I know is whiteboard will stay still. We have 80,000 units sold last year for $6. The 80,000 units had a $1 variable cost. So wait a minute. We've got $480,000 of sales. My variable cost is 80. My contribution margin is $5 a unit. So I've got $400,000 of contribution margin. I'm going to pick fixed costs of $250. So this is whatever my cost structure is. It looks like I'm capital intensive, doesn't it? It looks like I got a huge amount of fixed costs, 250,000, and only a small amount of variable cost, $1 per unit. So I want you to compute degree of leverage. So everybody, compute your degree of leverage. And tell me what you get. So what's 400,000? Too bad it's not a nice round number. 400,000 divided by 150,000. I don't want to round it off. So I'm going to write 2.66 and 2/3 as my degree of leverage. Okay? Any questions about degree of leverage? Getting that number. 2.16 and 2/3. Or you could carry out all the decimals. You could write 0.66666. All right, now I'm going to tell you that sales next year are going up 20, let's make it more. Sales are going to go up next year by 30%. Going to have a 30% increase in sales. And since we're capital intensive and we have a high degree of leverage, that's going to be a very good thing. Now, you could go ahead and do the following. I don't want to, but you could take 80,000 units. I'm just showing you all the work we can avoid. 80,000 times 30%. We're going to be selling an extra 24,000 units. So therefore, next year, 80,000 plus 24,000 is 104,000 units. You would then do an income statement at 104,000 units in order to calculate the new net income. But I can do the following. I could take the multiplier, the degree of leverage, 2.66 and 2/3. And I can multiply that by 30%. And what do you get? Literally, what I would do with the calculator, truthfully, is I would take 2 point and go all those decimal places, 0.666, as many as your calculator will allow. And then multiply, okay, good, by 0.30. Now you can round off. So you should round this off to what? What should I write down as the percentage increase in net income? What's my net income going to go up by? So 79.9999% is 80%. Everybody okay so far? My net income is going to go up 80%. Well, if it's currently 150, how much more net income am I going to get? What's 80% of 150? I'm doing really good as a capital intensive company because, again, that looks like what I am. And I have a high degree of leverage, which is a good thing when sales are going up. And they are going up. They're going up by 30%. That's another good thing. So what's 80% of 120? So I'm going to get another $120,000 of net income next year. Therefore, my new net income, without wasting my time doing an income statement, will be $270,000 next year. All I had to do was take the degree of leverage times the percentage change, and that got me my increase in net income. That got me my 120. I added to the 150, and that's 270. Isn't that fantastic? A lot better than doing income statements using degree of leverage. Any questions about what we covered today? I know I ran over. I'm sorry. Watch the video for those who left. And obviously can't hear me speak now, but for those who left, can watch the video to see what they missed. Let me shut off the video now. And if anybody has any questions, I'll stay on. Otherwise, I want to thank everybody for participating. Have a great day. And I'll see everybody on Thursday. Okay, and I'm here. If you put your question in the chat box, I'll understand your question. I'll be able to answer it a lot better. So write me a chat, and I'll answer your question. So anybody who has a question, just write your question.